Racist gang target black woman at gas station, then a Hell's Angel steps off his bike. Some moments arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary stops in the middle of an ordinary day. A gas station. A late afternoon sun. The hum of traffic fading into the distance. But history, personal or otherwise, often turns on places like these. Not on grand stages, but on cracked concrete beneath buzzing fluorescent lights, where fear and courage meet without warning. This story is about one such moment. It is about a black woman who only wanted to get home. It is about hatred that believes it can roam freely when it thinks no one powerful is watching. And it is about a man whose reputation makes people cross the street, but whose code forces him to step forward when others step back. Too often, stories of racism end in silence, trauma, or unfinished justice. This one does not. This one asks a harder question: what happens when cruelty collides with an unexpected kind of protection? Not the polished hero with a badge or a speech, but a rough-edged guardian shaped by the road, loyalty, and a past most people misunderstand. As you listen, remember this: courage doesn't always look clean. Sometimes it smells like gasoline and leather. Sometimes it growls instead of shouts. And sometimes, it rolls in on two wheels when hatred thinks it has already won. Settle in. Pay attention to the small details. Because everything changes the moment the engine cuts off. And the biker takes his helmet off. The gas station sat just off Highway 17, the kind of place travelers only noticed when their fuel light screamed loud enough to demand attention. 2 pumps worked. 1 flickered. The convenience store windows were dusty, plastered with faded ads for soda and lottery tickets. Beyond it, fields stretched flat and endless, broken only by a thin line of trees and a sky slowly turning orange. Aisha pulled in reluctantly. She didn't like stopping here. She never had. The place felt exposed, too open, too quiet, too far from anywhere that felt safe. But her tank was nearly empty, and her phone had 1 bar of service left. Pushing on wasn't an option. She parked, stepped out, and breathed in the sharp smell of fuel. Her shoulders were tight, the way they always got when she traveled alone. A habit formed not from paranoia, but from experience. Aisha was 32, a healthcare administrator driving back from a double shift in a neighboring town. Her scrubs were hidden under a hoodie, hair pulled into a loose bun, exhaustion etched into her face. She had learned long ago how to make herself small in unfamiliar places: don't stare, don't linger, don't invite attention. She slid her card into the pump. That's when she heard laughter. Not friendly laughter. The kind that carried weight and intention. 3 pickup trucks rolled in almost together, engines loud, tires crunching over gravel. They parked crookedly, as if rules were suggestions meant for other people. 6 men climbed out. Boots. Flannel. Ball caps pulled low. 1 Confederate flag sticker glinted on a tailgate. Aisha's stomach tightened. Just finish fast, she told herself. Don't look. Don't react. But eyes have gravity. She felt theirs on her before she saw them. Hey, one of the men called, voice thick with mockery. You lost? She kept her gaze on the pump, pretending not to hear. Another voice chimed in. Didn't know this was one of your stops now. Laughter followed, louder this time. Her hands trembled as the numbers ticked upward. She told herself to breathe. She told herself they were all talk. She told herself she'd be gone in under a minute. Footsteps approached. You hear me? The first man said, closer now. Too close. Aisha turned slightly, enough to acknowledge him without giving him what he wanted. I'm just getting gas, she said calmly. I'll be out of your way. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Well, ain't that polite, another man sneered. Guess they teach you that now. Aisha felt heat rush to her face, not anger yet, but the warning signal before it. She glanced around. The clerk inside the store pretended to rearrange shelves. No one else was around. The highway felt miles away. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. No service. "Come on," the first man said, circling her now. "We're just talking. Don't be so tense." She took a step back. "Please. I don't want trouble." That was the wrong word. Trouble smiled. "Funny," he said. "Looks like you brought it." The pump clicked off. Relief flashed through her, brief and fragile. She reached to replace the nozzle, hoping to move toward her car, hoping this would dissolve if she acted like it already had. A hand slapped the metal beside her, blocking her path. Not so fast. Fear finally broke through. Real fear. The kind that settles cold in your chest and tells you something is about to go very wrong. Then. A sound cut through the air like thunder. Brrrup. Every head turned. The motorcycle came from the highway, a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the concrete and into Aisha's bones. It wasn't speeding. It didn't need to. The sound alone announced its presence. Black Harley. Custom pipes. Chrome catching the dying sunlight. The biker rolled in slow and deliberate, parking one pump over. He killed the engine and, for a moment, the silence felt heavier than the noise had been. He swung a leg off the bike. Leather vest. Faded jeans. Heavy boots. Patches stitched across his back, one unmistakable emblem, Hell's Angels. Aisha's heart skipped, not with relief, not yet. She had heard the stories everyone had. So had the men. The racist laughter faded. The leader straightened, jaw tightening. "Well," he muttered, forcing a grin. "Look what rolled in." The biker didn't answer. He removed his helmet slowly, revealing steel-gray hair pulled back, a weathered face marked by scars and years on the road. His eyes were calm. Sharp. Assessing. He looked first at the trucks. Then at the men. Then, finally, at Aisha. He took in her posture. The fear she was trying to hide. The way she stood cornered between metal and malice. And something in his expression changed. Not anger. Resolve. He turned back to the men. "You boys got a problem?" The leader scoffed. "Nah. Just talkin'. Free country." The biker stepped forward once. Just once. Doesn't look free to her. Silence stretched. The wind rattled the station sign. Somewhere, a bird lifted from the fields. "You should mind your business," one of the men said, though his voice lacked conviction now. The biker smiled slightly. It wasn't friendly. "This?" He gestured around them. "This is my business now." Aisha's breath caught. She didn't know what would happen next. She only knew that everything had shifted. The balance. The danger. The story. Because when a Hell's Angel steps off his bike for someone he doesn't know, it's never by accident. And it's never the end. The silence after the biker spoke felt heavier than the heat rising off the asphalt. The men shifted uneasily. Up close, the Hell's Angel was bigger than he'd looked from the bike. Broad shoulders, thick forearms marked with old ink and older scars. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't puff his chest. He simply stood there, planted, like something that had grown out of the ground and wasn't planning on moving. The leader of the group, a stocky man with a red cap pulled too tight over his head, forced a laugh. "You some kind of hero now? She don't need you speaking for her." The biker tilted his head slightly. "Didn't say she asked." He took one more step forward. The air changed. Aisha felt it immediately. The fear in her chest didn't disappear, but it shifted, like a door cracking open, letting in something sturdier than hope. She stayed silent, eyes fixed on the biker's back, trusting an instinct she didn't have words for. One of the men spat on the ground. "You think that patch makes you king out here?" The biker finally shrugged. "Nope." He glanced at the trucks. Then back at them. "But it does mean I've buried friends who didn't walk away when they should've. And I learned something from every grave." The leader's smile twitched. "You threatening us?" The biker's eyes hardened. "I'm advising you." A long beat passed. The men looked at each other. Numbers gave them confidence, but experience gave the biker gravity. This wasn't a bar fight. This wasn't a scare tactic. There was a weight to him that suggested consequences didn't end when the gas station lights turned off. Still, pride is a dangerous thing. The leader stepped closer, invading the biker's space. "You gonna fight all of us for her?" The biker didn't move. "Don't need to." That's when headlights appeared at the edge of the lot. Another motorcycle rolled in, then another. Then another. 3 more Harleys pulled up in a staggered line, engines rumbling low and steady like distant thunder. Each rider wore leather. Each bore patches. Different chapters. Same wings. The men froze. Aisha's mouth went dry. The new riders cut their engines almost in unison and dismounted. One was tall and lean. Another had a beard down to his chest. The third walked with a limp that suggested stories no one wanted to hear. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The first biker, the one who had stepped in, didn't turn around. He didn't have to. "Well," he said calmly, "now I really don't need to." The leader's bravado cracked. "Man, this ain't worth it," one of his friends muttered. The biker finally turned his head slightly, just enough to look over his shoulder at Aisha. His voice softened, just a notch. "You okay?" She swallowed. I think so." "Good," he said. Then, louder, to the men, "because if she wasn't, we'd be having a very different conversation." The men backed up instinctively. No insults now. No jokes. Just survival math running behind their eyes. The leader raised his hands. "We're leaving." "No problem." "Smart," the biker replied. The truck started up in a hurry, doors slamming, tires spinning too fast as they peeled out of the lot and disappeared down the road. Dust hung in the air long after they were gone. Only then did Aisha realize she'd been holding her breath. She exhaled shakily. The bikers remained where they were for a moment, scanning the area, listening. When they were satisfied the danger had passed, the first biker turned fully toward her. Up close, his face looked older than she'd thought. Lines etched deep by sun, wind, and a life lived at speed. His eyes, though, were steady. Human. "You sure you're all right?" he asked again. She nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. "Thank you. I don't know what would've." He lifted a hand gently. "You don't owe me nothing, Dot." One of the other bikers glanced toward the store. "Clerk didn't even step out," he muttered. The first biker snorted. "Figures." He looked back at Aisha. "You got somewhere safe to go?" "Yes. Home. About 30 minutes. You want company till you hit the highway?" Her instinct screamed to say yes. Her pride hesitated. Then reality won. "That would be nice," she said quietly. He nodded once. "All right then." The group mounted up, engines roaring back to life. The first biker waited, watching as Aisha got into her car. When she was buckled in, he gave her a small nod and pulled ahead, positioning himself between her and the open road. They rode like that for miles. Him leading, the others flanking behind. No one tried anything. No one followed. When they reached the highway, the bikers slowed. The first one raised a hand in a brief salute, then veered off with the others, disappearing back into the wide world they belonged to. Aisha pulled over at the shoulder, hands shaking again, this time not from fear, but from release. She cried. Not loud. Not long. Just enough to let the weight fall away. Weeks passed. Life returned to its routines, but something in Aisha had shifted. She spoke up more. Walked taller. She told friends the story, though many didn't believe it at first. A Hell's Angel, they asked. Seriously? She'd smile. Seriously. One afternoon, while volunteering at a community health fair, she saw him again. He stood near the edge of the park, helmet under his arm, watching kids run between booths. Same vest. Same calm presence. She froze. Then she walked over. Hey, she said. He turned, recognition flickering across his face. Gas station. She laughed softly. Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. Again. He shrugged. Still don't owe me. I know, she said. But I wanted you to know, you changed something for me. That night could have ended very differently. He studied her for a moment. World's full of folks who think fear gives them power, he said. Someone's gotta remind them it doesn't. She nodded. People have a lot of ideas about men like you. He smiled, just a little. People usually wrong. They stood there a moment longer. Then he slipped his helmet on. Take care of yourself, he said. You too. He mounted his bike and rode away. Aisha watched until the sound faded. She knew she'd never see him again. But she'd carry that moment forever, the reminder that allies don't always look like you expect, and courage sometimes rides in on two wheels, wearing leather and scars. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more powerful stories like this one. Your support means everything.